The night the lights came on. It was December 31st, 1879, a winter night in Menlo Park, New Jersey. The air was sharp with frost, each breath forming little clouds in the dim evening. A small crowd had gathered outside a cluster of modest brick buildings. They stood stamping their feet, pulling scarves tighter, their eyes fixed on the row of glass globes strung overhead. At the heart of that expectant crowd stood a man with unruly hair, his eyes darting between the people and the small switch in his hand. He looked tired, his cheeks pale from countless sleepless nights, but there was a gleam of excitement in his face. Thomas Alva Edison took a breath and threw the switch. In an instant, the night transformed. The glass bulbs flared to life, not in the harsh, sputtering flash of gas lamps, but in a warm, steady glow that bathed the street in golden light. The crowd gasped. Some murmured in disbelief. Children clutched their parents' coats, pointing upward. For a moment, no one moved. Then the applause came, echoing into the cold December air. The man at the switch, the Wizard of Menlo Park, as newspapers had begun calling him, smiled faintly. He had been mocked, doubted, even ridiculed, but here, on the last night of 1879, Thomas Edison had changed the night itself. The world would never again be quite so dark. The boy who asked too many questions. Long before the electric glow of Menlo Park, there was a boy in a small town in Ohio who drove his teachers to despair. Thomas was born on February 11, 1847, in the bustling canal town of Milan. His father, Samuel Edison, was a restless man, a Canadian political exile turned carpenter, shopkeeper, and real estate dealer. His mother, Nancy, had been a schoolteacher, with a keen mind and a patient heart. From the beginning, young Al, as his family called him, seemed different. He was curious to the point of obsession. If he saw a bird's nest, he wanted to know how the bird made it. If he spotted a grain mill, he wanted to climb inside and see the gears. His questions came endlessly, like an unstoppable stream. Teachers, however, saw trouble. Edison's mind wandered. He struggled to sit still, often staring out the window, lost in thought. One teacher even called him addled, slow in the head. Nancy Edison would have none of it. She withdrew him from school after only a few months of formal education. From then on, she became his teacher. She taught him to read and write, encouraged his experiments, and, most importantly, convinced him that learning was a treasure worth pursuing on his own terms. By the time he was 10, Edison had read history, science, and mechanics books far beyond his age. But his greatest classroom was not a desk. It was the world outside, the teenage telegraph operator. By the age of 12, Edison was restless. The small town of Port Huron, Michigan, where the family had moved, felt too quiet for the boy with a mind full of experiments. So he took a job as a newsboy on the Grand Trunk Railroad, selling newspapers, candy, and fruit to passengers traveling between Port Huron and Detroit. But Edison wasn't just selling goods. He was watching, listening, and learning. The railroad became his moving laboratory. In an unused baggage car, he set up a small chemistry lab, filled with bottles, powders, and wires. He printed his own newspaper, the Grand Trunk Herald, right on the train, making him one of the first people to produce and sell a newspaper on a moving train. One day, disaster struck. While experimenting with phosphorus in the baggage car, a bottle tipped and shattered. The chemical caught fire. The conductor, furious, threw Edison and his entire lab off the train at the next stop. That might have ended his experiments, but Edison was stubborn. Around the same time, a fateful event occurred that would shape his future. While on the station platform, Edison saw a small boy wander onto the tracks as a train approached. Without hesitation, Edison sprinted forward, grabbing the boy and yanking him clear just in time. The boy's father, a grateful station master named J. U. Mackenzie, wanted to reward him. He offered to teach Edison the skill of telegraphy, the art of sending messages over long distances using Morse code. For months, Edison practiced, tapping out letters, listening to the rhythm of the clicks, and mastering the machines. Soon, he became a wandering telegraph operator, traveling from city to city, sending urgent news, stock prices, and train schedules. It was the perfect training ground for an inventor. The telegraph was a marvel of wires, batteries, and signals, and Edison studied it inside and out. But late nights and constant travel took a toll. By his late teens, an illness, failures, sparks, and a train car lab. Edison's early 20s were full of bold ideas and costly failures. In Louisville, Kentucky, he nearly blew himself up experimenting with batteries in the Western Union Telegraph office. In Boston, he tried to build an automatic vote recorder for Congress, only to have it rejected because politicians didn't actually want voting to be faster. But failure didn't discourage him. He simply packed up, moved on, and tried again. His work eventually took him to New York City, where in 1869, he fixed a broken stock ticker machine in a brokerage office. The grateful owners hired him, and within months, Edison had improved the device, creating the universal stock ticker, his first commercially successful invention. With the money he earned, Edison opened his own workshop. His motto was simple: genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. He pushed himself and his small team to work long hours, chasing one idea after another. Not every project succeeded, but each failure taught him something new. The phonograph, capturing sound for the first time. In 1877, something extraordinary happened in Edison's laboratory. He had been working on improving the telegraph and the telephone, experimenting with ways to record messages. One day, while wrapping tinfoil around a rotating cylinder, Edison wondered, what if sound could be captured and played back? He spoke into the device. Mary had a little lamb. To his astonishment, the cylinder played back his voice. It was faint, scratchy, but unmistakable. His assistants stared in disbelief. For the first time in human history, a person had recorded and reproduced sound. News of the phonograph spread like wildfire. Newspapers called Edison a genius. People traveled from miles away to hear the talking machine. Some laughed nervously, others gasped, and many simply could not believe their ears. This invention would make Edison famous, but it was only the beginning. The War of Currents. In the late 1880s, Edison faced a battle that was as much about business as it was about science. Edison believed in direct current, DC electricity, a steady, constant flow that was safe for lighting homes. But another brilliant inventor, Nikola Tesla, championed alternating current, AC, which could travel longer distances with less loss of power. Tesla's backer, George Westinghouse, began installing AC systems across the country, threatening Edison's business. The rivalry turned ugly. Edison launched public demonstrations showing the dangers of AC, even using it to electrocute animals as a warning. History would eventually favor AC for most large-scale power systems, but Edison's DC networks remained important, especially in the early days of electrification. The birth of the light bulb. By the late 1870s, Edison had a bold new goal: to create a practical, long-lasting electric light that could replace gas lamps. Electric lamps already existed, but they were unreliable, expensive, and burned out quickly. Many experts claimed a safe, affordable electric light was impossible. Edison simply smiled at the word impossible. At his Menlo Park laboratory in New Jersey, the world's first true invention factory, Edison gathered a team of machinists, chemists, and engineers. For months, they worked day and night, testing thousands of materials for the filament, the delicate wire that would glow inside the bulb. They tried platinum, carbon, bamboo fibers, even beard hair. One by one, they failed. Bulbs would flicker, burn too hot, or die within minutes. Then, in October 1879, after more than 6,000 experiments, they found the answer. A carbonized cotton thread, sealed inside a bulb with no oxygen, powered by a steady electric current. On December 31st, 1879, the night we began our story, Edison's light shone publicly for the first time. Word spread quickly, and soon, cities and businesses were clamoring for electric power. Lighting the world. In 1882, Edison opened the Pearl Street Station in New York City, the first commercial power plant in the United States. At first, it served just 59 customers, lighting about 3,000 lamps. But the seed was planted. Electric light transformed city life. Streets became safer at night, factories could run longer hours, and homes no longer smelled of gas or smoke from oil lamps. Edison became a household name. Newspapers printed his portrait, calling him the Wizard of Menlo Park. He seemed unstoppable, moving from one invention to the next with relentless energy. Menlo Park, the world's first invention factory. What made Edison truly unique wasn't just his creativity. It was his method. At Menlo Park, he created a system for invention. Teams of skilled workers each specialized in part of the process. Designing, building, testing, and improving. If one idea failed, they tried another and another until something worked. This factory of ideas produced breakthroughs at a pace the world had never seen. The improved phonograph. The carbon microphone used in telephones. The electric pen, an ancestor of the mimeograph machine. Early designs for fluoroscopes to look inside the human body. Edison's personal life also changed during these years. In 1871, he married Mary Stilwell, but their life together was brief. Mary died in 1884, leaving Edison a widower with 3 children. 2 years later, he married Mina Miller, with whom he had 3 more children. Mina became a stabilizing influence, keeping Edison grounded while he chased his ideas. Movies in motion, the kinetoscope. In the 1890s, Edison turned his attention to entertainment. Working with his assistant William Kennedy Laurie Dixon, he developed the kinetoscope, a device that allowed people to watch moving pictures through a peephole. His laboratory produced short films. A man sneezing, a boxing match, dancers twirling, that fascinated audiences. Soon, Edison Studios was producing some of the first commercial films, and motion pictures began their journey to becoming one of the most powerful art forms in history. The later years and last inventions. Even in his 70s, Edison refused to slow down. He experimented with cement houses, rubber production, and improvements to batteries. But the world was changing. New inventors and corporations were rising, and Edison faced criticism for his business tactics and patent disputes. His once mighty empire began to fragment. Still, he remained a respected public figure. Presidents sought his advice, schoolchildren sent him letters, and his old rivals, including Nikola Tesla, acknowledged his impact on the world. The final glow. On October 18, 1931, at the age of 84, Thomas Edison died at his home in West Orange, New Jersey. The news swept across the world. In a symbolic gesture, cities across America dimmed their electric lights for 1 minute in his honor. For that brief moment, streets, homes, and buildings returned to the darkness that Edison had worked so hard to push back. He left behind more than 1,000 patents, a transformed world, and a legacy that proved one stubborn man with an idea could reshape history.